We are live from Miss Hooks' class in 5,
4, 3, 2, 1.
Alright, today's video is on distributing and factoring. This should be page 57 of your notebook. The distributive property, all distributing means is to give out evenly. So let's fill in some pieces right here. So the multiplier, the number on the outside of the parentheses, tells us how many groups we want of the expression inside the parentheses. A shortcut is to multiply the number on the outside to every number or term on the inside. So if you look at this example given right here, 4 is the multiplying number on the outside, and you're going to distribute onto each term on the inside. So 4 times A is 4A, 4 times 3 is 12, so 4A plus 12. Then we have some examples down here, and we're just going to work them together, and then I'll let you guys finish on your own. All right, so the first one says 5 parenthesis x plus 7. So to distribute the 5, we're going to say 5 times x and 5 times 7. And 5 times x is 5x, and 5 times 7 is 35. The next is 3 parenthesis m minus 4. So we're going to distribute the 3 onto both terms inside. So 3 times m is 3m, and 3 times 4 gives me 12. All right. This next one, you have to remember exponent rules from quarter 1, unit 1. So 2y times y, if you remember, when you multiply a variable times itself, you have to raise it to an exponent. So 2y times y actually becomes 2y squared. Plus, and then 3 times 2y is just 6y. All right, over here, even with fractions, you still distribute. So 1/2 times 16a and 1/2 times 20b. 1/2 times 16 is 8. 1/2 times 20 is 10. And your final expression is 8a minus 10b. All right, another one where we're multiplying a variable times a variable. 4a times a minus 4a times 6. 4a times a, well, a times a is a squared, so this becomes 4a squared. 4a times 6 is just 24a. So your final expression is 4a squared minus 24a. Let's do a couple more, and then I'll have you guys finish on your own. 5r times 8 and 5r times r. 5r times 8 is 40r, and 5r times r is 5r squared. 6 times 5a and 6 times 2bc. 6 times 5a is 30a minus 6 times 2 is 12, and we still bring down the bc. So those variables stay together. All right, last one together. 4 times 3x squared, 4 times 5x, and 4 times 9. 4 times 3x squared is 12x squared. 4 times 5x is 20x. And 4 times 9 is 36. All right, go ahead and complete these last 8 on your own, and I will put the answers at the end of the video. On the inside, we've got some more notes, and these notes are on factoring by GCF. So if you remember GCF from Unit 2, GCF is the biggest factor that all the terms have in common. So let's use distributive property to use this area model. So 3 times x is 3x. 3 times 5 is 15. And we're going to use this area model to actually show factoring. So the total area for this shape is 3x plus 15. So this is just another way of doing what we just did here, just with the area model. 7x times x is 7x squared. 7x times 8 is 56x. And then I can put those two terms down here. I cannot combine those. I can't say that that is 63x because that's x squared and that's x, and those are not like terms. All right, now we're going to do, so go ahead and complete these three on your own. Now what we're going to do is we're going to start from the inside and work our way out. So look at 5y and 35. Do they have any factor in common? They have a factor of 5. So take the 5 out right here. And so 5 times what gives you 5y? Y. 5 times what gives you 35? 7. So your two terms, we'll call this the width, and we'll call this the length. So your length is y plus 7, and your width is 5. It honestly doesn't really matter which one's which. All right, here, 18d squared and 63d. So what number do they both have in common? The biggest number they both have in common is a 9, but they also have a letter D in common. So remember when we did Venn diagrams and both terms would have the same letter in common, so we put that in the middle of the Venn diagram? Same thing here. These both have D's, so we can actually put a D with the 9. So 9D is the biggest GCF for both terms. So 9D times what gives me 18D squared? Well, I definitely know it's 2. And then D times what gives me D squared? D. So 9D times 2D is 18D squared. And then 9D times what gives me 63D? 7. All right, let's do a couple more of those together since this is very new. So what's the biggest factor that we can pull out from both of these? Well, let's look at their numbers first. 4 and 60. 4 is the biggest number we can divide into both, and neither one of them has, or one of them has an S and the other one does not, so we cannot pull out an S. So we're only going to pull out the 4. So 4 times what gives me 4S? S. 4 times what gives me 60? 15. So the length is S plus 15, and the width is 4. All right, and then go ahead and try these two on your own and see if you can do them, and then I'll put the answers up at the end. So let's talk about the actual definition of factoring. So factoring is just the opposite operation of distributed property. So to distribute means to multiply. To factor by GCF just simply means to divide, to take out. So if I go right here, 2x or 12x times 5x squared plus 3. If I distribute that out, and then I take it and then I factor it back, what I'll do is I'll end up factoring the 12x back out. Another way to do GCF is kind of similar to the distributed property, but we just don't use the box. So here are the steps. You find the GCF, divide the GCF out of every term, write it in the front of the set of parentheses, and inside the parentheses you replace it with the expression that is left after you've divided by the GCF. If the GCF is 1, then you just write the word relatively prime. So they have nothing in common, you just write relatively prime. So this first one, 8 plus 36x, what is their GCF? 4. So take a 4 out, just like we did over here where we took the GCF out. And then whatever left goes on the inside, you can just check it. 4 times 2 is 8, and 4 times 9 is 36x. Let's go over here. What numbers do we have in common? With 15 and 3, the biggest number that we could take out of both is 3. And the letter we could take out for both is B. So 3B we can take out from both. So 3B times what gives me 15AB? 5A. Because 3B times 15A is, 3B times 5A is 15AB. And then 3B times what gives me 3B? 1. And if I distribute those back out, you'll see that I actually end up getting back to my expression given. All right, what's the biggest number that we can take out of both of these? Is a 2. Do we have any letters in common? Yes, we have a C. So 2C times what gives me 8C squared? 4C. So 2C times 4C gives me 8C squared. And then 2C times what gives me back to 6C? 3. and then you're done. All right, 3J minus 7K, what number do they have in common? They don't have any numbers. Do they have any letters in common? Nope. So since they have nothing in common, you're going to write relatively prime. Okay. Let's do 2 more together, and then you can finish the rest on your own. All right, let's look here at this number, 18 and 2. What's the biggest number they both have in common? 2. Do they have any variables in common? Yes, they do. They have an x and they have a y. So 2x times 2xy times what gives you 18xy? 9. 2x times what gives you 2xy? 1. And then you can actually combine those terms and it becomes 2xy times 10. All right, last one. You can do 3 numbers. So 8, 12, and 4, they all have to have the same thing. So is there anything all 3 of them have? Yes, they all have a 4. Do all 3 of them have a letter in common? No, because this guy doesn't have any letters. So all we could take out is the 4. And then you just see what you got left over. So if I took out a 4 from here, it's going to give me 2y squared. If I take out a 4 from here, it's going to leave me with 3y. And if I take a 4 out of a 4, it leaves me with just 1. And there is my final expression with it factored out of a 4. So 4 parentheses 2y squared minus 3y plus 1. All right, go ahead and finish the rest of the ones that we've left blank, and then I will put the answers up in just a moment. All right, here are the answers to the ones that I did not do with you. So if you could go ahead and pause the video and check those. And then here are some more answers on the inside. Again, just pause the video when needed. And then here are some more answers at the bottom. And some more answers on this side. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to write them at the bottom of the video or just ask tomorrow in class.
Subscribe!